right, we are back with a tournament deck list review. This time we have the Winter Cup in Cardiff 2023. So this was a standard event, a single deck, 1 day tourney, very similar to a Materia Cup for us. The U.S. Winter Cup will be very different. I'll have a separate video on that in the future, talking about my expectations for that, what I think changes, because our format for that will be quite different. But in the meantime, very interesting to see kind of the way the meta is developing. Admittedly, I don't think it's as good as it can be, but let's go ahead and congratulate our winner as we always do and take a look at their list, which is Mr. Cool, Alex Hancock's himself, with what everybody's calling Giga Wall. And it's very interesting seeing how this list has developed from the list that he played at Worlds. You can see we've integrated a Tyvis package in here to try to give ourselves an alternate payload for playing cards that's not the Warrior of Light. Because you can't play like a Magissa, but there's a pretty good number of 3-cost warriors. Ward, Yuzuki, Mog are all warriors that could be searched with the Tyvis and then deployed. Also, very keyly, Red 13 is a warrior, so you can actually play Warrior of Light, get the Warrior of Light removed at the end of the turn, but like paying Warrior of Light for 1 is more than good enough at that point. And I'm going to be honest, this deck looks like it might be a problem moving forward into the future. This deck just looks really, really solid. A couple of the big changes, we're a lot lower on our ice package than we were. There's no copy of Terra anymore in the list, which we used to have. Instead, our only ice stuff, we have the 3 Axstars, the Setzer, the Gilgs, the Zeromas, but we're still on the Uke, the Scholar, and the Sid. I think it's really interesting. Feel like we're almost a little too low on ice to be investing 3 backups into it, if I'm totally honest, but we're still on Moody, but instead of going like 1 Amaterasu and 1 Bahamut, we're just saying screw the Bahamut. We're just going to run 3 Amaterasu, and then like now Warrior of Light can randomly just search Amaterasu. When I was playing this deck, I've really noticed how powerful that was, where you could go like Warrior of Light, Zeromus, Moody. You end up with like 2 backups, Amaterasu in hand, and then like a must-answer threat on the field along with protection for the threat. This list is really, really good. I don't know how much I love the Tyvis engine. Like, I get why it's here, but I think the problem is we go so low on hand size with the Warrior of Light sometimes that I feel like the Tyvis just maybe isn't quite there. Oh, Axtar's a warrior. For some reason I thought this guy was a samurai. He's a warrior too? Okay, maybe. That's right, he is a warrior because you can play him with Tyvis. So that's a little better than I thought as well. So that's like another way of playing Axtar. But I don't know. I mean, the Warrior of Light is so consistent between Arya and Sarah that I would be shocked if like Tyvis wasn't just for like kind of exceptionally grindy games. So the Mog showing up, this thing has been a way that the deck can deal with kind of ramping and searching and just kind of wins those matchups on the spot. A lot of times this card reads draw 1 card, your opponent discards 1 card, which is more than good enough. And yeah, I mean the list is really, really, really good. It's hard to know what really beats this. Meanwhile, we have our second place list by hello. This is Steve D of the YYT, and Steve took twins, Warrior twins specifically, playing Tyvis and using him to deploy the 3 copies of Ward, the 3 Yuzuki, 1 copy of Mog, and Arfurian. I'm a little surprised to not see. There's a lot of cards I think that I feel like we almost should have looked to make room for. I get the idea is that like Zidane can be played off of Edgar or Phoenix, but really don't know how consistent I really feel like that is. I guess we can also raise it with Lena, but like that's really slow. It is admittedly a very good thing to revive with Lena because you can do that on your opponent's turn to rip the card they just searched out of their hand. We're not on like Terra to reuse our Phoenixes at all. I kind of feel like the Zidane almost could have been like two copies of Zidane, and like the one match that I saw him play, he had like Palom, Porum, Yuzuki. But if he had Palom, Porum plus Orin, I feel like he just wins. Like one copy of Orin, I think would have gone a long way in this deck to protect the twins. And I think that people are like, "Oh, Porum's insane right now." It's like, where have y'all been? Porum's always been insane. This card has never been bad. Her brother falls in and out based on how good the meta is for keeping both of them alive, but Porum as a card is just over the top good. One copy of Lefty, I'd actually really like to hear how this one went for him. The idea is he wanted to play an aggro deck that beats other aggro decks, and I could sort of see it. We're on 19 EX bursts as well, so Axstar has a lot of extra text. If our opponent gets EXs, we draw because we're probably going to get our Lenas into rotation pretty quickly. It's a solid list. I just think I would look to find room for the Orins, and I really don't like the off-color Zidanes, but that's also a me thing. I probably perpetually underrate this card because I feel like there's just no situation where like his opponent in one game he's like, "Oh yeah, my opponent pitched 3 cards to Amaterasu Zidane." I'm like, so your opponent played a 2 CP forward for free, and you went down 3 cards to stop it. Like, just let the Zidane go. You will draw good cards. Like you're gonna draw 3 cards that your opponent will never see with Zidane before their turn. Just let the Zidane do his thing and kind of remove him at your leisure. Like I really don't understand the fear of this card that people seem to have. And maybe that's just me. Like I know that like there's arguments that it's like, well, good, you're gonna protect the best cards in your hand, and Zidane can remove the cards you're trying to protect. I get all the arguments for like why Zidane is good. I just also think you should have 50 good cards in your deck, and sure, like sometimes they'll rip it and you'll draw into like a dead backup, but like you would have drawn that backup next turn anyway. It still would have been a dead card. Um, so I don't know. I feel like ignoring Zidane and then just dealing with him at your earliest leisure is way better. Like paying 2 for an Amat to kill Zidane is probably okay just to avoid the damage, but like never pitch 3 for like to kill this guy. Like you're just absolutely setting yourself up to be demolished if that happens. Um, like you're leaving it up to chance a little bit, but like I feel like leaving it up to chance like the Zidane will draw you into more good cards in your deck is better than leaving it up to chance that you're going to top deck out of being down 2 cards in hand. 4-color Shenanigans. This is a 4-color Tyvis deck. Very interesting. We have the Red 13 as a backup to play off of our Tyvis. That's really interesting. Claris, Tycoon, Lena to play those. We also have the 3 Tyro and the 2 Shantoto in case Tycoon goes away. 1 copy of Edgar. I feel like we're a little low on king targets for our Claris. I really don't like Claris with only 2 targets. I don't think we have any king forwards or anything like that, so the twins showing up again. I think that makes a lot of sense. These are just criminally slept on cards. Oh, one other thing I didn't mention about Steve. Where's the Joseph? I feel like Joseph would have gone great with this. It's an EX burst. It gets the Furion out of the deck. Could run 1 copy of Guy. Guy is also Tyvis searchable. So like if you already have like the Mog or the Yuzuki, etc., like 1 copy of Guy and 1 copy of Joseph. Joseph play Guy. Sorry, or Joseph and Guy are just such a great combination of cards that like 1 of each would have gone a long way. I think maybe like helping those kind of rampy matchups if they show up. Similar things here, like 1 copy of Guy and 1 copy of Joseph to go with our Furion. I think actually would have been quite good. The Suzerains, I like it a little better here because of the ability to cast him. We have 9 win cards, so it's possible to get our King Tycoons into play. Our Arc. Tulian's an interesting one. I imagine this wouldn't be in here if it wasn't for the Tyvis, but because the Tyvis is here, it's kind of cool. The 3 Cecil, 3 Cecil, 2 Cecil, I really like this engine. 6 cost levy. I guess this is like to deal with the Rufus Rug stuff, but man, I really feel like even putting the Rufus back in hand is just not worth it. It is like a really nuts EX, so I sort of get it, but these all seem fine. I'd be curious like how consistent this was. Like it feels to me like we're gonna kind of run into a similar issue that I was having when I was trying to play like Rainbow Radio this set, which is like drawing the cards in the right order is going to be tricky sometimes. But Tyvis might help with that quite a bit, as do like the Cecils and such of the world. The twins are obviously very good. So anger issues. I think there's a glitch. I think we're missing 2 cards here. No backups, no monsters. So obviously this is an aggro, like a nail aggro deck, with like Rug. Very interesting. I've never seen this Don Corneo not played in a Gilg FFBE deck. It's funny. I was listening to Steve D and the Cardiff Cactuars, the Searmew Cactuars. Fantastic podcast, by the way. Go check out the Searmew Cactuars if you haven't. Really cool to see kind of a new player emerge in the FFTCG content game. But they were talking about how like they didn't see Gilgamesh doing anything until the 4-color wall. He actually was, and it was an exactly Don Corneo deck. So if you haven't read Don Corneo, this card is wild. Usually I've seen it as a self-mill engine where you use him almost like a tier limit, like a self-miller to put 15 cards from your deck into the break zone. To like set up Gilgamesh in one single 2 CP forward, and then like Gilgamesh is just live the rest of the game. In this situation, I think he's meant to be played like as an aggro tool with like Rug. So like if you have Rug, Rug makes him immediately live, and like if they're gonna die in 3 turns anyway, it doesn't really matter that like Corneo is a little bit slow. Admittedly, like there's some interesting like Corneo is if he dies, you get back the card he steals, which is why the decks that were using him before, you could actually target himself with the mill 15. So you would like turn 1 Don Corneo, and if you put it didn't like immediately kill him, you would mill the 15 cards, and then your Gilgameshes are live for the rest of the game. Cleome is a really interesting one. I think this card is actually a little slept on, just because like she only has to live to your end phase to be really annoying. If handled properly, she can kind of help you dodge removal. She can kind of round up some of your small pings. It's a very interesting card. I wouldn't have expected her to show up here, but I do sort of get it. Quistis, so we're trying to get some random discard. Quistis is really good, obviously, with Rug. We can kind of turn it online immediately. Rufus, we have our Shantotos. Yeah, just really trying to press go. I'd be curious to see how the Fell Thanos actually did. I feel like we could probably play something else in that slot. It's probably like a checkmate card we could get with the Celtius. I would have gone down like 1 copy of the Fell Thanos and then like put a Renoa, like Renoa Nail. Renoa Celtius is really crazy. Like this Gatto gives 2 CP forwards. It gives forwards haste and stuff, but like doesn't play anything. So I'm a little concerned on if he actually gives enough. But this looks like a nightmare to play against. For sure. Oh, and Sid Randell, I think, is maybe the most slept on card in the game, by the way. I have played decks at large tournaments that just do not have an out to this card. And I think there's a non-zero chance that, like, if If you know your opponent's on, let's look at Hancock's list real quick and see how many outs we have. We have oh, there's no Raffia in this deck at all anymore. Okay. So there are exactly 2 outs to that card. It's exactly Cyan with 2 crystals that have been generated other than through his own entry effect. Or 3, I guess. Ferris slash Axstar swing. But like you have time because the Ferris and the Axstar can't gain haste to remove them before they become a problem for the deck. I think this is a really nasty tech card for the current format. Shuts down Mono Wind, can't play into this card at all. Um, the only other downside is it's a little weak into opposing rugs because rug isn't a non-entry effect, and a lot of rug decks are intending to abuse on attack triggers like Ishtola, like the Rufus, and you lose a lot of value when you're dealing with on attack triggers versus on entry triggers. But I think the rest of the cards in the deck are too good. I think this is like the one tech card that just straight up shuts down this type of deck. Moving along, we have a Water Lightning Scions list. I know the idea with this Kane is that it's an EX burst card named Kane for Hooded Man, but I still, every time I see it, I just like kind of wince a little bit. Like I can't really say that I think it's the best use of the slot. Um, Fire Lightning Ishtola, I think it's just always outclassed by the Lightning Ishtola. If you want a special, I really think the Wind one is the way to go. It doesn't pitch for the right CP, but it does give you an alternative payload for your Alize of negate my opponent's best forward. There are like situations in the current meta where you can go against like a Giga Wall list and you can go Alize, revive Ishtola, and the game is kind of over. Similarly, it's very strong to pull out of the deck with Graha. Moving through the rest of this, Lightning is just like decent. Urianger. We actually have Odin's for our Lightning, which is cool. We don't have any 3 CP Lightnings in here. I'm a little surprised to see that. I don't love the Water Alphino. I know that they were talking about how it was used because they were scared of Tidus. But I feel like in a lot of situations where you use this to out Tidus, like Alize's effect is mandatory. I guess you could put Alize's effect on the stack after Alphino's, but I don't know. I would rather have the extra consistency of 2 copies of this Alphino than like the kind of okay-ish removal spell. Like if you want removal off of Alize, just revive this Ishtola. If you need to kill a Tidus, just Pulse of Creation, right? 3 Irvine. I believe they mentioned that like the Irvine is like to them better X Death because it kind of like kills the opponent. Sort of get it, but especially because like X Death is a little bit anti-synergistic with Scions, which is a deck that is very break zone heavy, and like you don't want to remove your Hooded Man targets or your Scions to revive with Alize. The 1 copy of Aranea, the 2 Thancreds, we have quite a bit of good EX burst to deal with our aggro. King of Burmecia is our only target, the 1 Aranea. That's fine, I guess. Like it's probably meant to be a Sarah target. I would just run the Princess Sarah instead and just say the Princess Sarah's are only lightning backup that you can get off of Sarah. 2 Reeve makes sense. Really good EX burst. I would probably run Loporrit over Astrologian, especially in a deck that's on Louis or the King of Burmecia. I feel like the ability to put the card back is way more important. I guess like Kane is also a Dragoon we can get with King of Burmecia, but we don't ever want to draw this Kane necessarily. So like I don't know, put this back in the deck, put the Odin's back in the deck. There's a lot of cards in this deck that like really feel good in deck and really bad in hand. So I like Loppert in those situations. I like Loppert's action ability a lot better as well. The 3 Lena. Overall, this is solid. I'd be curious how well the Thancred actually went for them. I feel like this is a card that like always has had some potential, but always kind of struggles to find its footing. You can play it out of the deck with Graha for a very, very high cost. It should have a couple water characters to always revive the Ashtola, which can give it haste. You can kind of remove 2 things. But like you really need that to go off for the card to feel really nice. Um, yeah, I might not have gone for the Kane Hooded Man Dragoon package. I think I would have gone for the yeah, because we're really low on water cards as well. But like I really liked like the Cadet package this set. I know that people are like laughing and thinking it's a meme, but I really think like Ace, Nine, and Trey are line up very well against the current meta in a way that like I don't think people are recognizing. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm usually not a fan of Water Lightning for my Scions list, but it's one of the better ones I think I've seen. Mono Water, um, relatively standard, I think. New additions, we have Larza to go get our Ash or Shinryu or a Leviathan. I think those are really cool. We're on Astrologian over Loporrit again. Like, we're on 3 Shinryu. Why are we not playing Loporrit? Like, Loporrit is so good at, like, anytime you have 3 of the light card that you don't want to see in hand at all times. And I actually playtested this deck one time, and I bricked on Shinryus for a turn. I lost because I had 2 Shinryus in hand and didn't want to cast either of them. Loporrit just smooths those out in a way that Astrologian doesn't. Even though Astrologian goes 1 card deeper, I just think Loporrit's the better card, and I don't think it's particularly close. But especially in a deck like this, where like you don't want to see Ash early, but you don't want to discard it. You don't want to see Shinryu early, or the wrong times. Like it's just so much better in every way. I would have liked to see 3 Porum. 1 Tidus is fine. I'm still just not a fan of this card. 2 Paladins, and the Glaciella for that. I feel like we probably could have found room for like a Realm here. If we're not big enough on Tidus, I mean, 1 Tidus is actually an okay thing. We have the Sarah Gordons. Our summons. We're on the Cancel Leviathan to try to stop the Giga Wall decks. So Hagen Chief is kind of like an alternate payload for our deck since we're not able to as consistently play. So Hagen Chief ends up being kind of a checkmate card. You can kind of protect your Leviathan, protect your. So Hagen Chief Ash is really wild as well. For like Ash bounce with Sahagin Chief, bounce something else the opponent controls, play the Ash again for 1, ends up just being really, really good. 3 Blue Worms, 1 Trost, 2 Tonberries. All this looks pretty standard. I just would immediately swap the Astrologians for 3 Laporits, and I think the deck is better for it. Like, significantly better. I think I swapped the Geomancer for Alchemist, I think it is. I might even swap like the Waka for an Alchemist. Really try to push that package, but School of Mr. Cool by Paul. This is literally Alex Hancock's list from Worlds. We have 2 Amaterasu in here instead of just 1. I don't know if I can identify at a glance what got removed for that. 1 copy of Ferris got removed. We're not on the Refia is here, so we found room for something else over those as well. Seems like these lists are just kind of moving away from Refia for whatever reason. Oh, for Glaciella. Sure. Having playtested Glaciella over the Refias, I'm not a huge fan of her in these lists just because we don't consistently have we have 18 water cards. It's very hard to consistently have a water card to ditch for the special. And you don't always get Arya or Sarah FFL into play or have them active for the Glaciella special. But like generally I get the idea. The other thing is that like you tend to get to like 3 to 4 characters, but like it's a lot easier at that point to deal with Glaciella pings when you're not trying to curve backups and this deck isn't always ramping. So I really liked the Refias over the Glaciella, although I get why the Glaciella is here instead. Um, Fire Ice 6. Are we on 5 CP? We're not on 5 CP lock at all. Okay. So just like a Fire Ice 6 list with like just good stuff. We're not on that, so we can run like the Shadow Forward. Very exciting. Got our Mogs. Our backups are 3 Interceptor, 3 Setzer, 3 Sids, all the good ones. 2 Terra Forward. I really like Terra Gogo is really powerful. The 3 Locks. The 3 Celeste. No extra copies of Sabin. We're just on that. That's fine. First appearance of Bahamut 21. I really like this card. I think it's very slept on. Why are we on crystals? Is there for Terra in this Bahamut? Is that enough? We have Cyan as well in here. Okay, well the Cyan makes a little more sense, I guess. I still don't love this. I would rather see like 3 copies of Amaterasu, just because I think that like again stopping Giga Wall at all costs is kind of necessary, and Amaterasu is one of the best answers to it. So, um, overall, I actually really am surprised at how much I like this list. I think all of these cards read individually really powerfully. Maybe I'd cut the Mirage Dive lock, although it is a good card when you combine it with Interceptor and Edgar, right? Like it does just kind of close games out sometimes. It does say discard 2 if you can like Interceptor the haste in. I don't hate it, to be quite honest. Like I would maybe go like a second Go-Go just because the Go-Go Terra stuff is so good. Go-Go plus Edgar is so good. You can copy the Cleave with Cyan, which is hilarious. Now that I realize it. Um, and then Cyan can also protect Go-Go by spending a crystal to gain 3,000 power. It's actually like a really cool synergy. Like I actually think I'd go to 2 Go-Go, cut the lock. And then I would probably go like down 1 of each Bahamut and then like find room for 1 copy of Amaterasu in here somewhere. Maybe over like one of the Samurai backups or something. Oh, yeah. Really interesting list though. I did not expect to see Fire Ice 6, especially like a very strange version of it that's not on the character list. Gigawall. This time we're on a wind package, so we can play Zidane and Ishtola. Um, yeah, it's like a very rainbow heavy build for Gilg to Nimbus. I get the idea of the Tifa here, but I don't love it. I guess Prish and Nimbus are meant to be kind of the same card with different names. Ishtola, we're conflicting with names with these two. It's a little weird. And then every one of these cards is meant to search Wall. So we're just getting it twisted with Giga Wall. And if that doesn't win the game, we lose. Hmm. Yeah, that's literally all the deck does is try to Giga Wall. Why are we on just 1 Princess Goblin? That's a little weird. Because we don't have a lot of wind. That's why. They say like that's actually a hit off of Giga Wall. But we're not trying to ramp anyway with this list. I also feel like we don't have enough water for Arya. Like, maybe like 2-2 here? Like, it's already pretty low in both. I guess this has EX, but like, does the EX burst matter that much? I don't think it does. I also feel like Bosch is kind of like, maybe like 1 Bosch down for an Alfino instead. Lid's a cool tech, though. I think that's a really sneaky one. We're literally willing to go turn 1 Tyro into Warrior of Light. It's very silly. Do we have enough fire for this? I don't know if we do. I mean, it's just meant to go fast. Okay, so this is like a Une Chaos Arc, or Dark Une as people were calling it. This looks really standard. I don't see anything that really pops out as even being particularly new here. I feel like... Okay, so this Marrowweb's here to draw a discard. We could do really well to have a Larsa in here, I think. So there's got to be like somewhere where Larsa's better. Eunice here as a Rydia target. I feel like we could like cut... Is that actually the best one? I would almost run Lene over Yuna in this list, to be quite honest. Sarah for Gordon. Gordon allows us to discard. Aiko, get one of the arcs into the break zone to pull back later with Une. We've got our playset of Garnets in here. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard. There's not a lot of things that I think are super off the wall in that. Ferris, Refia, Yuri. Whoa. Okay, so 4-color. This is Warriors of Light, but in a pretty different form. So we're on the forward Lunith. We have just Lena as Warrior of Light backups to go with our Refia. I feel like if we're on all these Earth backups, like one of these could have been an Ingus. Would have been pretty nice, honestly, to kind of help further the Refia game without having to do the Refia. I feel like also a copy of Sarah. We have like how many Warriors of Light in here? Just like Sarah and Ingus actually I think should be over here. Varian. Lots of summons. We're on 4 colors. We have the Darkness Manifest. Be curious to see how well this did for them. I think I'd have to play this list to really give it a fair shake and like understanding of how well it does, what it tries to do. Like Arc is really good. Like a lot of these cards are individually really good. I just don't know how consistently we're going to get the backups online for the forwards, and if we do get the backups online, how good are they actually going to end up lining up against what's happening? Like, is this like meant to be like an anti-aggro deck because of like the Firians, Zidanes, and cards like that, or are we actually intending to kind of ramp up backups? And if we are trying to ramp up backups, I feel like we should have the Ingus and the Sarah in here so that our Refia is a little more live. Invalid deck name inserted. Okay. I hate it. Um, God. Can we ban this thing, please? um, well, a lot of these are like individually strong. I mean, the legend count is really high as well. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 legends out of like 20 some cards. So, like, the cards are just very high power. They're not going to be very consistently cast. We're going to have a lot of issues with doing stuff other than the Kieran, and I feel like even the Kieran, I don't know if we have enough Earth to cast it consistently enough. But this deck can also Rufus Rug and just kind of win that way. What is Theodore doing here? Um, I mean, Theodore Renault is crazy, so I guess. Um, Kieran Renault, Warrior of Light, wins games probably. So does Kieran Renault or Rufus. Like, Sid Randell, Kieran Renault, Sid Randell probably wins some games as well. I feel like we should just go to 3 Sky Serp in general, to be honest. Cut like the man in black. Like, does this add really enough to be worth it? Uh, yeah, there's not a lot to say on this one. 4-color wall. We're with the Darkness Manifest again. I've actually heard this a lot of hype on this card being an anti-aggro card. Mm, my drink's still leaking. It's a little scary. I don't think it is. I think it's just condensation. Sorry, guys. Live editing done cheap. Oh no, it is definitely leaking. Okay, a tiny bit. Have to get through this video. Says anything that really stands out here. Ishtola, I think, is a card that is kind of coming back a little bit. Every time I see this card sit across from me, she really does not read like an Opus 5 card. She is very difficult for some decks to remove, and it's very easy to extract more value out of her than she costs. If you ever get ahead and you stick in Ishtola, the game is probably over. 3 Kusith makes a lot of sense. I think Kusithing back either Darkness Manifest, the Ishtola, the Warrior of Lights, the Fusoyas, all that makes a lot of sense to me. We're on the Claris, Tycoon, Lena, Edgar, Engine. I like just 3-3-3. 3. I have 12 backups, all of which have EX Burst, and just like go to town. We're on 20 EXs. This deck's actually very hard to swing into for a deck that wants to set up. You do have like the Darkness Manifest as like a control payload to win the game. I think that's really sick. This is the same as the other list with Gigawall. This is basically Steve's list. Vikings topped. That's something I didn't expect. Vikings without Ferris. I see that Legend support went a long way. I'm even more surprised we're not even on. We're just on Layla for Viking. We're not on. We're not even on the Big Gay. It's a Warrior of Light engine. I see. I've actually like wondered how many different things like this are viable. Um, Gears of like mono whitening Warrior of Light could be a thing. I think with like the Kingsglaive cards, Crow, Nyx, etc. Axis are all 3 cost. This also would do similar things. A little bit of a Namba with Lightning, but Lightning is such good removal. I don't think you would ever go without her. I feel like we bumped the Mog a little bit. Yeah, all of our backups cost 3. Okay, so we're just trying to play the Warrior of Light as like a value engine. I think maybe looking for, is there a 3 cost water monster? Now that I think about it, water monster cost 3. Hippo, Octomammoth. Exo-Ray. Yeah, there's some good water targets in the monsters as well if we wanted to go that route. This looks really interesting. Is Viking really the right place for this? I mean, Alayla needs a Viking target if we're doing that. 3 CP, water forwards. Let's go to recent stuff. We're not on enough Warriors of Light for Refia, not enough sixes for you. I mean, Rydia's a good card. If you want it to be a bit slow, I don't hate for Melda. I actually really like this Yuna. Especially in a deck like this, you're going to turbo through your deck quite a bit. Um, this Yuna's actually not bad either, now that I think about it. Realm. We're not even on the Realm. Yeah, Realm. Oh, no, we're on one copy of her. I like Ceremobius in Waldex, but I'm kind of weird about that. I actually like her a lot better with Cyan, though, so I don't know how much she fits there. L could be pretty fun. Dust could be cool. Yeah, there's some interesting options actually for like that mono water Warrior of Light. Uh, in the meantime, that is all the decks we have in Top Cut. I'll probably have a separate video at some point talking about Gigawall and how it kind of represents an unprecedented problem for the game. We see it like everywhere here. It's really interesting. But yeah, in the meantime, see y'all in the next one.